everyone. This is the December 2024 live stream. I'm talking a little slow because YouTube usually cuts off the first few seconds of this. Hey Max, I see you're in the chat. Looks like we got 6 people here. That's a good start. I wasn't sure, since we're doing this on a Monday instead of the usual Sunday, how many people would be here. I know it sucks. I didn't want the people who are usually here to not be here. But I guess the silver lining, hopefully, is that some people that normally aren't able to be here will be. So just to get started, to address why I said the live stream would be yesterday and now it's today instead. TMUSA posted on my community post, she's one of the moderators, but she said there must be a big story behind it. There's really not. It's just I haven't been getting much sleep. Well, that's not quite true. I'm getting sleep, just not on normal human hours. So basically what happened was Saturday night into Sunday, I just absolutely could not make myself go to sleep. I got, basically I've been staying up later because just the schedule. You know, normally when the guys are here, they go to bed around usually like 3. It takes me about another like hour to calm down, and then so 4 or 5 I go to bed. Well, after they've left for the winter break, it's kind of stretched to me going to bed even a little bit later, which means that I'm waking up super late. So I'm getting enough sleep, just not at the right times. And Saturday night, I just absolutely could not make myself sleep. And it got to the point where if I had not woken up and postponed the live stream, I probably would have been operating on about an hour of sleep. And I was debating whether I wanted to do that. But I figured I would actually be like either super grouchy or super weird during the stream. So I thought, you know, I should postpone it. But I had the same issue last night. I could not go to sleep. I ended up getting actually about maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep last night. So better. I'm a little better functioning. One other thing I wanted to address before we get started, and I see all the comments coming in. If I seem a little lightheaded today, I think I'm a little bit better now, but I started out my day with something really weird happening in the house, and I don't know what it was. But I heard somebody downstairs. Nobody's supposed to be here because it's break. So I went downstairs to see what was going on, and no one was there, but there was this really weird smell. It was like a chemical smell. And I walked all throughout the kitchen and all throughout the dining hall, and I saw that along like the baseboard of most of the walls, there was something wet. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. And after I was down there for a while, I started feeling weird. And like my legs felt weird and I felt kind of dizzy. So I came back upstairs. I have no idea what that situation is downstairs. I'm gonna get our chapter advisor to review the cameras and see who was down there. Anyway, guys, I see all your comments coming in. I'm so glad everybody's here. We got 16 on so far, 17. So maybe we should start doing weekdays rather than the weekend. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I just got a notification that a package was delivered. Let me go grab that from the front door before anyone steals it. I'll be right back. Okay, had to get that. I ordered some body wash. Okay, let me get on the comments here so I don't get behind on that. And then I actually have a question for you guys before we start out doing anything else. Max commented first. He said, "This is like Monday Night Football. What are you doing over winter break?" I'm glad you're that excited. Winter break, okay, so it's a break for me in the sense that I have a little bit of a chance to get caught up. A little bit caught up on a few work things, but caught up more so on life. I mean, that's what I'm doing anyway, right? Is I'm just um, working on getting caught up in life. But without the guys here, um, it's not creating any new work for me at the time. So, other than filing my report every Friday that I have to file, um, I'm not doing hardly any work over break, and mostly it's mostly just me working on projects, and I've got quite a bit done. This is going to sound like the most boring adulting thing ever, but I'm trying to dig myself out of this hole, and one of my little mini projects was I had 14,000 unread messages, emails, and well, at the start of the whole divorce thing, I had 47, if that tells you anything. But I went back and I decided, okay, most of these are from 2022. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to 2022 and I'm gonna see, okay, I think at this time I wasn't responding or even reading emails. So I went back and I looked at just December 2022 from just one of my emails. And I'm like, oh my God, there's 256 unread messages. So I've worked my way through them. Some were ads and stuff that were easy to get rid of, but some of them are things I have to follow up with. And I'm down to under 25 of those. So these little mini projects, and the next step will be to do November of 2022 and just work my way back. It's just all a part of getting my life caught up. And that's part of what I'm doing over break. I'm also deep cleaning my apartment. I'm actually going to be getting a wall tapestry to put back here. You guys might not see it because I'm going to be filming in a different location. Like after I put that up, because I'm going to move the bed against the wall here. But yeah, so I'm still trying to get settled into my apartment. I got so busy when I first moved in here, I didn't have time. And the other big thing that I'm doing over break is I am running home for a couple of days. Fresh Lights, I just saw your comment about my hair. That is actually part of the plan over break. I have, on January 5th, I have an appointment. I am hoping that my haircut dude is going to be there because I texted him twice and he did not respond. And so I just went to his Square booking site for his salon and I booked through that. And I got an automatic confirmation email saying he accepted it, but it definitely seemed like it was automated. So I'm just going to show up and hope he's there. I'm not sure why he's not communicating. So the plan is to get my hair cut over break. Yeah, when I go home. And it's going to start happening more often. It's not going to be like when I got my hair cut every month, but now that I kind of see the cadence of how breaks work here at this school and like how much I can trust the guys to not destroy the house if I'm gone, I think I'm also going to be able to run home on spring break, which means that I can get my hair cut in January, go back in March or April and get it cut again. So it's going to be too long, but not like this. And then I can get it cut again in the beginning of June, which would be the first part of summer break. So that's the plan as far as the haircut. Oh, we've got, okay, the other Max says hi. Hi, other Max. Sandra says, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Mark. Thank you, Sandra. Merry Christmas to you. I did not really do much for Christmas. I was here by myself, but I ordered myself. Well, I tried to order myself a Christmas dinner from IHOP because it was like one of the only things open, and I, especially since I was spending it alone, I didn't want to like get into like sad boy mode and just eat gas station nachos or something. So I actually ordered myself a Christmas dinner. I've done that in the past from IHOP, but the thing was, I don't know if it's because I ordered like the day before or what, but like normally IHOP has some like traditional meals, and they didn't. They didn't have. I mean, you could get a steak or something like that, but they didn't have like normal Christmas type foods to order. So I ended up ordering a burrito, or well, no, it wasn't a burrito. It was an omelet. It was like a Colorado omelet. Um, so I've done that before a few years ago for Christmas, um, but that was more just my choice that I wanted to get that year. This year kind of had to because it was all they had. So that's really all I did for Christmas. The guys got me a gift certificate, which I haven't used yet. I've still got to decide what to spend that on. And um, I bought myself a gift. I've been wanting a nice pea coat, and I found one used on eBay. So I got that. And although I bought it with eBay's Black Friday special, it took forever to get here. It didn't get here until actually, what was it like 2 days before Christmas, I think. Um, but anyway, I'm happy that it's here now. It looks nice. And yeah, just happy with that. Uh, Jennifer says, "Hello, Mark and everyone." Hey, Jennifer, I'm glad you could be here. I don't know if you've noticed, but like the previous two live streams, I actually made them a little bit earlier in the day. I did 1 p.m. for November and October because I know it's super late for you, and I was hoping that that would make it a little bit easier. Um, so sorry I went back to 3 p.m. It just with me and waking up right now, that's going to be a little bit better. But eventually, I'm going to get a standardized time that works best for everyone. Sandra says, hello, everyone. Jennifer says, has anything exciting happened lately? Well, other than the mystery chemical liquid in the basement this morning, and me getting something happening to me after that. I don't know what that was. Let me think here. I'm trying to lay low, right? Because the less I travel, the less I do, the less money I spend. And I'm trying to spend this time, getting caught up financially. So I haven't done anything too exciting. The only thing that I can really think of is I've got two things planned. I'm going on a trip soon. It's just running home, but I'm meeting with my cousin who she's like my mom's age. She's in her 70s, but I'm going to dinner with her. I'm gonna run and do a few things while I'm down there. Um, so nothing like huge, but just taking a trip. And then I'm planning what I'm doing for summer. So for summer, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a video that I'm going to make soon, but I've got to figure out what I'm doing for summer because I know that it was good for me to take this job, but I don't know what's going to happen after my contract is over because my contract ends in May and there's a few factors outside of me that I need to I need to figure out. Well, I'll just tell you guys. But number one, we need to know if the landlord is going to renew the lease here at this house because we're on the last year of our lease. So that's one thing that has to get done before I'm going to know if I have a job for next year. Number two is I need to know if they're going to renew personally my contract. And we don't talk about that until March. So those two things I've got to know before I know if I'll be here for next year. And depending on whether I'll be here for next year, that's going to depend on, or okay, that's going to basically make it so that I know if I have housing secured for summer. Um, Basically, what happens is I only get paid August through May. So June and July, I'm on my own. Now, if they renew my contract for next year, I still get to stay in the house for free, and I don't actually do work for those months. Um, but I don't get paid either. So I'm gonna have to find something for June and July. Um, Now, depending on what happens, I'm either going to try, like, if they don't renew the lease or if they don't renew my contract, I'm gonna try to find a year-round house director job that starts in June. Um, or if they do renew it, then I'm gonna try to find some kind of job just for those 2 months. So if any of you have any ideas out there, and I'm not talking, just stuff like a Google, but like if you know of a place that hires just summer help and provides housing, um, let me know about that. I'm going to be looking into woofing, which is working on an organic farm. I'm going to look into, um, there's house sitting. There's also, what's that other one called? Cool Works, which is working at either national parks or like ski resorts, that kind of stuff. Um, Alaska is out of the question. I'm only saying that because I can't afford to travel there. I don't have a passport, and you can't travel to Alaska by land without a passport, and I can't afford to go there by sea. Maybe I could, depending on flights, maybe I could fly there, but um, there's a lot of seasonal jobs in Alaska that I could do in the summer, but I'm not sure that's going to be an option because of travel. But if anybody has connections with any place else, obviously I'm not open to everything. I'm just let me know what you know about, and I'll see if I could do it. Um, so yeah, sorry, Jennifer. Like I went way off on a tangent there, but basically to answer your question, I don't have too much exciting going on because I'm trying to lay low and save money, but I am looking at traveling on a short road trip here in a few days, and then I'm making plans for what I'm going to do over the summer. And that might be either moving somewhere else to get another job, or it might be just working somewhere for 2 months in the summer. And wherever I go will probably be like in a national park in another state. Greg says, I have to say that oh, I have to say that 2024 was a good year for me. I got a full-time job, which enabled me to pay off $950 in old debt, which caused a significant uptick in my credit score. All the best in 2025. Thank you. Um, I yeah, I mean that's good, man. I am also working on paying off debt. I'll talk to you guys more about that when I do my financial goal review for the year. Um, but yeah, basically the same thing. My credit score was actually good. I People for some reason assume that because I have so much debt that my credit score is bad, and it wasn't. It was, I want to say before the whole divorce thing started, it was 692, which it seems like when I started tracking my credit back when I was in college, 700 was the goal. 700 was like legendary credit score. And 692 obviously is really close to that. Um, it seems now, I mean, people have like 850 credit scores. I didn't even know it went that high. Um, so in that context, it's not that great. But in my mind, I'm still stuck in like 700's a perfect score. But anyway, my score tanked during the whole divorce thing. I mean, it went down into the 400s. It is back in the 600s. So I get where you're coming from. Um, I've got a long way to go because it takes 7 years for missed payments to fall off. And I'm not missing payments anymore, but um, there's quite a few of them on there, and that's bringing me down. But yeah, as of right now, I'll generally go up like a point or two every couple months just from paying down the balances on stuff. Jennifer says, "Great to hear, Greg. Well done." Um, Greg says, "Mark, what are you doing to ring in 2025?" Well, um, I'm not doing anything special for New Year's. I'm just going to be here at the house. I'll watch the ball drop. Um, I did that last year, and I gotta say, I mean, this year is going to be better than last year. Last year, watching the ball drop, I was out doing DoorDash, and it was super dead. And I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, sitting in a parking lot watching the live stream of the ball drop on my phone. I mean, I'm housed, I've got some money, I'm not as financially bad off as I was then. Um, and I'll be watching it, not in my car and on a TV. So things are significantly better this year, basically. Um, but I guess the answer to that is I don't actually have much. Don't have much in actual plans. Um, Let me know if this is a thing where you guys are, but I have to remember to eat cabbage on January 1st. Now, last year, that ended up being an egg roll from Quick Trip, but I think this is an Appalachian thing, but it's like a superstition that like you'll have good luck for the year if you eat cabbage on New Year's. Um, I didn't realize how obscure that was until I moved out of Appalachia, but I don't have any cabbage, and food service won't start, so I think I'm probably going to end up having to order Chinese so I can get an egg roll. I think that's probably going to be the easiest way to do that. So that'll be something I do on New Year's Day. Max says, "What do you think of Brett Copper? She is like Ben Shapiro's news understudy." I have never heard the name, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know much about Ben Shapiro other than he occasionally pops up as something recommended on YouTube, but like every time I see him, whatever the title of the video is something like offensive. Like it always is. Um, so I've never watched his stuff, um, but I don't think that I would agree with him on much of anything. I would assume that if that is somebody that's working for him, it would probably be the same. Kind of like if, we talk about Dave Ramsey and like how he has these different people that are like on his network. You know, it's like I don't like Dave, but if you asked me about one of those people in particular, the answer would probably be the same. I was like, well, if they have the same opinions and policies of the person they work for, probably not. Greg says, "I'm going to a party hosted by an old friend." It's been a really long time since I've been to a New Year's party. I think I went to one in college. They're not really all that common, I don't think, anymore. Um, can't think of one. I don't know. Max says, "Have you ever been ice skating, Mark? I got a job as a ice skate host. A ton of people go ice skating, but they are very demanding to the hosts." So, what do you mean that you're a host? Like, do you have an ice skating rink and then you like people come to skate at your place? Um, okay, so I have been ice skating. I cannot skate to save my life. Um, it is something I want to learn. So when I was in elementary school, now keep in mind in West Virginia, we're not we're not that Canadian. We might be north, but we're south. So we don't really have ice skating. That wasn't something that was around when I was growing up. What we had was roller skating. And roller skating was really popular when I was in elementary school, but I wasn't really most of the time ever allowed to go to the roller skating parties that my classes would have. I think I ended up going to maybe a couple, but then it was like years after everybody else started going, and then it was embarrassing that I couldn't skate, and it was just a whole thing. So I've always wanted to learn. And I probably want to learn to roller skate first because I think it's a little easier. Um, but I also have to just like set the time aside to go do that. Um, so I haven't done that. And then I feel like the same way with ice skating. I feel like if I can figure out how to roller skate, then I can figure out how to ice skate. Um, the situation with ice skating is I don't think we have ice skating where I live now. It wasn't a thing when I was growing up at all. The closest we had was about an hour drive from where I grew up. There was Ohio University, and they have an ice skating rink for their hockey team. Um, and you could go skate there. And I think we did once when I was in junior high, maybe. Of course, it was kind of me just dragging myself along the side because was not very good. But I mean, obviously, with practice, I could get better. Uh, Now, in the meantime, my hometown has opened two ice skating rinks. One was open until last year. They tore it down this year, so um, they're not doing it there. They're building a new facility, but I don't think the new facility they're building has any plans for ice skating. And then there's like this museum downtown. It's an old Masonic hall that they turned into a children's museum. And you can go in there, you have to pay the museum fee to get in. And then on top of that, there's an extra fee to go ice skating. So you can do that. I imagine their ice skating rink is not very big. I've never seen any pictures of it. Um, but those are the only ones. And then of course the college, the one that I told you about, the rink actually does not even work now. It's like 100 years old, and it was originally built for basketball, and they converted it to an ice arena, and it's too small because they have like a really good hockey team, but they can't compete D1 because the facility is too small. And now it's completely broken. Like there's something wrong with it and it can't make ice. So anyway, that's a really long response to that. But essentially, I would love to learn to ice skate and roller skate. I'm really bad at it though, and I'm not really near anywhere that uh, I would be able to. I think. Oh my gosh. Okay. Um, Oh, Jennifer says, I really appreciate how you respond to all comments and share your life with us. Well, you're welcome. I appreciate you saying that. Um, I I do have a thought. if the channel continues to grow, I mean, at some point, I mean, we've got 23 people on here, and this is totally manageable. But at some point, if I'm getting too many people in the live chats to where I can't respond to everybody, I think what I'll do is I'll find a way to do like separate ones. I'll do a general live stream where just everybody can comment, and I might have to pick and choose comments to get back to. But for those of you who, well, especially like you who's a moderator, but for the people who are more involved, we might have like a more private live stream. I've been playing around in my mind with like how to do channel memberships. Um, what I want to do is I want, if I do eventually go that route, um, I could do a members only live stream. That's not really necessary right now, but like that might be a solution if too many people eventually get on here. Um, but I would like to be able to give out free memberships to the moderators, and I need to see if that's a possibility. Fresh Light says, "Did you not get haircut?" Yeah, so I explained that one. So that one is gonna happen. Jennifer says, "Do they not have a barber where you live now?" They do. So basically, what it is, I could go get my hair cut, and I'm sure it would be all right. It would probably be better than like this. Um, but the guy that I go to is like incredible. I've had my hair cut by so many different people over the years, and some do like an okay job. He is just amazing working with my hair and the way he shapes it, and it just looks so good. And in the times that I've, 'cause there's been times that he's taken time off for paternity leave and stuff like that, but like in the times that I've had other people cut it, it just ends up being like, meh, all right, you know, it looks decent. But when he does it, it is, it's just so good. And so I'm really kind of stuck with him. Now, obviously, at some point in my life, I'm going to move away too far where I can't run back and get my hair cut. Um, but right now, with having to run back home, he's in Columbus. So um, Columbus is between here and home, so I can just pass through there on the way. And that works for now. At some point, when I move farther, because I do want to move farther away at some point, then I'll have to figure out another solution. Max says, "That's great. The guys got you a gift certificate. It seems like a better group of guys." Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys, they are loud, but also, like, I guess that's just to be expected. Beyond that, though, and sometimes having to get after them about leaving stuff in the hallway or picking up the trash, um, they're generally pretty good. And a lot of the work that generally I'd have to do as a house director, they do on their own. Like, they hired a contractor on their own and had professional Christmas lights installed on the house. They did that themselves. They ordered an extra dumpster for the move out at the end of the semester and then had that picked up. So, a lot of things that generally fall on me, they're responsible enough to keep up on themselves. And yeah, it's nice to know that they don't hate me, because that certainly was not the case at WVU. Jennifer said 3 p.m. is actually going to be a good time for me this year. Impossible to find a time that fits everyone, so do a time that works for the majority. That's good. I know you said something about having to get up at like 5 a.m. and I know, I have no idea, was it like 9 or 10 where you are right now? PM? Well, I know you guys don't use PM, but you know what I mean. Um, so I just didn't want to keep you up that late, basically. But if 3 p.m. works for you, that works better for me. We can continue doing that. And you're right. There's no way to schedule it with everyone, but like at least with the moderators, I mean, I don't like require you guys to be on here, but like it's nice if at least one is on. And the way that you guys are, because we have Case who's in Canada, but I think out west in Canada. That's Left Shark. And then we have TM USA who is in maybe Central or Mountain Time. Uh, and then I am actually not sure what time zone John Doe's in. I'm I'm actually gonna have to ask him and see. Um, but yeah, um, it's just a little difficult with you being several hours off to get it scheduled. But I'm glad this works for you. And then you said 2024 has been good for me as well. Good job. And bought. Oh, you bought an apartment. Okay. Um, Happy with family and friends, but recently got dumped by a guy I wasn't even in a relationship with. So there's that. Okay. All right. Well, that's an accomplishment, but I don't know how that happened. Um, I'm glad you seem to be okay with it though. Um, but hey, the apartment thing is really cool. So you just straight out bought one, because I think the last time that you and I talked about stuff, I think you said you had a good job, but that you were always looking for ways to cut costs and make more money. And I know we were talking about you possibly getting a roommate or moving to a cheaper apartment, or starting a side hustle or something like that. So it sounds like a lot of stuff has happened since then. Um, and yeah, well, I mean, I was about to say I didn't know you were in a relationship, but I guess you weren't in a relationship. Um, I know maybe like a year or so ago, you said you broke up with, or yeah, you broke up with a guy, I think. Um, but yeah, um, I'm like kind of in the same situation. I'm in like well, I'm 39. I'm out in the dating scene. I don't know how it is where you are, but over here, there's yeah, it's not great. That's why like when people say, "Hey, you should do like story times about your dates," I'm like, "Well, I'd have to go on dates for that." But my biggest thing is just, I'm on the apps, but there's nobody to like swipe on. It's not that like I couldn't get matches. It's just there's nobody that uses the apps anymore. And I live in kind of a rural area, so there's not very many people to swipe on. Um, and then Jennifer said, Brett is the female version of Ben, in my opinion. So that's the person that I think Max was talking about. I have to look them up. I remember there being some kind of scandal when I worked at Candid. So Candid was that tech startup in teleorthodontia that I worked at, and I remember that Ben Shapiro, no, the company sponsored an ad on Ben Shapiro's show or podcast or something, and I remember there being so much controversy about that. And the company had to clarify to the employees that they don't support Ben Shapiro's political views, but that his audience are the type of people that they're looking to sell the product to, and then that's why they were advertising there. Jennifer says, "How do you feel mentally and physically now that you have a more stable ground to build from?" Well, I'm certainly better than I was when I was living in the car. Um, I am struggling with some uncertainty, and I'm gonna have to go more into that in a future video, probably when I do my either 2025 financial goals or reviewing the ones from 2024. There are some details as well that I probably can't make public yet. I don't mind telling you personally, so if you want to message me, that's fine, and we can talk about it. But there are a few things that I'm worried about, but beyond that, obviously things are much better now. I am still working really heavily on tying up loose ends with the whole girl fiasco, um, but those are getting made progress, and I feel like I need to do that to work through things anyway. Um, Physically, I think I'm good. I've lost half the weight I need to lose. I still, I've lost like 15, maybe 20-ish. It fluctuates around 15 to 20 pounds since I've been here. Um, I would like to lose the rest of that to get back to my normal weight, but I'm at least wearing like my normal sizes and everything. I think it'll just be my face and stuff will look a lot thinner. Plus, I always look a lot thinner when my hair is cut. I don't know why, but it looks that way. Um, I am definitely better off financially. And I wish you guys could see that, but without having Mint, because it was discontinued, I can't really show you a graph of like how things are going. But um, I'm paying off debt. I'm saving a little bit. The car is still an issue. That's an issue. It's got to get taken care of later. Um, but it gets me to the grocery store for now, so that's the big thing. Um, So I guess that's mostly the answer to physically. I haven't gotten back into the gym because I'm not in a headspace to yet. Um, with me, I have to know that I'm ready mentally to not just go to the gym one time and then not go back, but like to actually be ready and have the time and be in the right headspace to want to go and pursue that. So that is something I'm wanting to do. Um, Maybe once it gets warm, I can just go for a run outside, just for a start. I could probably do that pretty consistently. But other than that, physically, I'm good. Um, Now, mentally, I'll be completely honest with you. That whole relationship just fucked me up. Um, I I'm dealing with a lot from that, and I think that that will get better in time, and me working through the rest of the stuff that I've got to work through. Um, but it is a struggle, and you know, I went into that without any mental health problems, and I'm not quite sure that I came out of it without any. But at least whatever I have is probably like PTSD or depression or something, and not, something like real bad. Um, but still, those things are a struggle to deal with, and I wish I wasn't dealing with them. Um, but yeah, you're talking about more stable ground. It has helped a lot. And the ironic thing is, I've always been pretty stable. As much debt as I've been in, and as much as I've struggled with producing income, I've always been pretty stable as far as always pretty much having a place to live and always somewhat having my life together. And this is the first time that that's not quite been the case. And that's why I guess I'm working so hard to get back to that being the case, because I feel very much not myself right now about that. And I want to get back to, I don't know. I don't know how to say it other than that. Having my shit together. Um, but yeah, to be completely honest with you, I'm probably not 100% mentally healthy. I'm dealing with stress, depression, trauma, but I'm also not like, I don't know. This sounds weird to say, but I'm not like dangerous. Like, I'm not I'm not like hallucinating or, I don't know, just outwardly crazy, I guess. um, so I feel like this is something that I'll work through to a certain point in my life, and then after that, it's just something that's probably gonna be a burden on me forever. That I'm just gonna have to deal with. Um, I hope that's not the case, but who knows? Um, well, and one thing I should point out too is like here in the U.S. we don't have healthcare, so I have to do all this on my own. Without a therapist assisting. Um, that might make it go quicker if I did have help, but I've got to learn how to work through it on my own. Max says, as a skate host, you just hand people skate and go on the ice to monitor the ice, help people if they fall. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like a cool job. You just kind of hang out. Then Max says, I have a New Year's Eve story for you. My friend invited to a party. I I thought there would be some girls there. It was all 20 guys watching anime. I was so angry and upset. I left at 10:30. Party was terrible. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess if you were going there for the intention to meet girls, that would suck. Um, Personally, I can't do anime. I just people have made me watch some, and I'm like I can't do this. I just can't. Like there's certain things that are sort of like nerdy type things that I can get into, um, like the occasional movie or something. And like I play Pokemon Go, right? Like that's a nerdy thing. Um, but I also don't know anything about the Pokemon, like at all, and I've never watched the show. I I literally just play the game because it was super popular, and that's how I started playing it. And but like I collect all the Pokemon, but I don't actually know anything about like the whole backstory of Pokemon. But yeah, man, like if you were trying to meet girls, that would be bad. And I don't blame you for leaving the party early. Um, Sandra says, really hope that you can find a nice place to just hang out and chat with people over a meal or drinks just to usher in the new year. Um, I'll see if I feel like being social. I'll see how I feel that day. I yeah, I don't go to bars, so it's it would be rare that I would randomly stop in someplace. And of course, everyone's out of town. All the guys, I would just go watch something like watch the ball drop with them if they were here. Um, just about everybody's left town for break, so that I would be surprised if there's actually even any parties or anything. But um, I'm totally fine with just being on my own on New Year's. I would prefer not to be alone more on like Christmas or Thanksgiving or those. New Year's to me isn't that as important. Um, I do like New Year's Day because I'm all about goal setting and personal development. So I like that kind of aspect of New Year's Day of like it's kind of a reset and you're setting goals. Um, Jennifer says, I'm going to be alone tomorrow as well, or with my parents, but it's whatever. You're right, we don't use AM or PM. It is actually 21:30 o'clock here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm very familiar. So in the US, that style of time we would call military time because I think generally it's like mostly the military that uses that. But I'm really familiar with it because my first job out of college was at Abercrombie and Fitch. And I don't know if it's because it was like an international company. I mean, it still is, but they have stores all over the world. But we used military time um, at Abercrombie, like for everything. So I'm really fluent in that. And so the European way of time doesn't confuse me. Um, some of the other stuff does, although I have recently figured out Celsius temperature, not negatives. Negative Celsius temperature don't make any sense to me, but the positives do. Um, so I'm getting there. Uh, um, it's hard because I'm 39 and I haven't left the US. So everything that I know about anywhere else, I've learned online. And that has helped a lot to not just be the average American that's like so insular and doesn't know anything different. Um, but learning it late in, I'm talking about like I'm 80, but like learning late in life, I guess. Um, that's what it feels like when you've been doing something a certain way, that like for a really long time, it's more difficult to take on a new understanding of something. Jennifer says, I could only afford a small apartment, but it is just me, and it will save me a lot of money in the long run. That's, I mean, that's perfect. Actually, when I was just last night or the night before, when I was looking into what I could possibly do this summer, because I have those 2 months where I don't get any pay, um, I was looking at like, well, if I got a job in the city, could I find a micro loft and do a short-term lease? I love the idea of tiny living, and whether that be like a micro apartment that's like 300 square feet. I apologize, I don't know what that is in meters, but um, something like that, or whether it be a tiny home. Um, I don't know if they have those where you are, but they're essentially small houses on wheels. Um, I mean, you can make them stationary, but they're very small square footage. Um, I like the concept of that. I think I would much rather have like a cozy small home than something big. And I know that's like probably the most un-American statement ever, um, but I would really like that. Whether it's like a little cottage or just a small apartment that's enough. So I'm glad though, because I know you were trying to find ways to save money. So I hope that makes things easier for you. Jennifer says you have an excellent memory. Um, all you said was correct, but I don't remember telling you. Haha. Yeah, it's been just throughout the live streams, I think, or maybe in a comment you left on other video. Um, but I guess I haven't been posting many videos other than the live streams recently. Um, but yeah, basically, um, the pretty much remember what you've told me. Uh, and then Jennifer says, old apartment was very expensive, rent. The one I bought is smaller, but completely new and very nice. I live right next to work, so I will save about 5,000. Um, I always mess this up. It's Swedish. Is it krona? Kroner? Crown? Something like that. You said 500 USD on rent and gas. Small mortgage. Yeah, okay, um, so when you say you bought an apartment, okay, so you had the old apartment that was very expensive, and I know that's the one that was stressing you out about that. And then the new one, you're saving 500. USD a month. Um, Rent and gas. That's right, because you said that you drive to work. Because I remember being surprised. Because, okay, so like coming from an American perspective, we know that we're backward as far as like cars and driving everywhere. So I think it works the other way as well, because then we just assume that everyone in Europe uses public transportation for everything. Um, and I just remember being surprised that you told me you had a car. Um, and okay, so you live next to work and you save money. So then you said small mortgage. So your mortgage, did you, okay, if this is too personal, let me know. You don't have to answer, but um, so when you say you bought your apartment, did you just like pay for it outright, or did you take out a mortgage and then you have a monthly mortgage payment for it? I'm not sure how that works because it's not impossible to buy an apartment in the US, but it's not typical. It's not something I'm familiar with. You usually either like buy a home or you rent an apartment. Um, it's like major cities like New York that I've heard of where you can just buy an apartment in a certain building. Oh, let me ask you this too. Where you live, because I don't want to like, out you, but like where you live, when you get the apartment or the house, does it come with a kitchen? Because that in the US varies depending on where you are regionally. Um, and I heard in Germany, I mean, I know that's not where you are, but Europe. But I think it was in Germany that you have to supply your own kitchen when you move into an apartment, um, which just seems like it'd be a pain in the ass to move all the appliances. Jennifer says, how is the housing situation in the US now? Last I heard, both mortgages and rent is crazy expensive. Is it cheaper in some areas or is it everywhere? Whew, man. All right. How long do you want me to talk on this topic? Uh, because I have a lot to say, both as somebody who has rented for a long time and somebody who's worked in rental offices for apartments. Um, I okay. Here's my opinion. It's been a while since I've paid rent, right? Because if we backtrack a little bit, the last time that I was actually paying like legit standard rent was the end of 2020 when I moved out of my apartment in Columbus. I lived in a terrible neighborhood, and that's why my rent was so low. Um, and I had lived there for 5 years, so it had gone up more and more, but they didn't increase my rent to the market rate, so I was paying a good bit less than everyone else anyway. Um, Now, since then, I've always been in these weird living situations where I'm in like a temporary short-term rental, or now I've been doing like the fraternity house thing. I was renting a room there for a while from my crazy roommate. Um, but basically, I've done different things to keep my rent costs low. And one of the main reasons is because rent is ungodly expensive. And it didn't used to be. I was just thinking about it today where I had a really cool apartment in college. The last 2 years of college and then like the first 6 months or so that I was in my like first adult job, I lived in this apartment that was downtown in my college town. It was a loft above downtown, overlooking one of the main streets in a really picturesque neighborhood. I had the original hardwood floors that were like 200 years old. And it was this big open like loft concept with just like a bedroom stuck in the back of it. It was amazing. And do you know what I paid for that? $300 a month. I mean, there were apartments that were a little bit more. Like, I had another one a couple years before that was like $425. I don't know what that same apartment is now, but I don't think it'd be under $1,000. Um, Based on just occasionally like scrolling Facebook, seeing the buy sell trade groups from my hometown, it seems like apartments there, one bedroom apartments, are generally $800 or $900 minimum per month. So keep in mind that that has tripled over the course of 10 years. And that's not counting utilities and all the other things that have gone up as well. But that's for like a really basic apartment. Of course, where I'm from, there's not a lot of options for luxury, but where you find them, they are going to be just way more. I would never pay it. It doesn't matter how rich I am, I will never pay. Well, I say that, but then I also remember back in college when I said I would never pay $1,000 a month in rent. And now it's almost impossible to get a one bedroom for less than $1,000. So, yeah, but to answer your question, it is cheaper in some areas. It is very expensive and a big struggle everywhere. It seems like even the areas where people, like, no one would want to live there. Like, my hometown, the rent has skyrocketed. But then places where people actually do want to go, it's even worse. There's just no way that I would be able to get an apartment on my own anymore. I mean, even so, like, just think about it. The most basic apartment in probably not a great neighborhood in Columbus would be $1,000 a month. Well, you have to make a minimum of 3 times the monthly rent. Well, that's 1,000 times 12, that's 12,000, and then 3 times that is 36,000. So you have to make at least 36,000. Well, I don't make that. I make 25. If you think about it, well, and then 36,000 is roughly a little less than $17 an hour. Places aren't paying that much. So it's a struggle. Oh, Jennifer says, oh, is that what military time is? Yeah, that's just what we call it in America, because I think that's generally all it's used for, is just, is for the military. At least here, that's all it's used for. You got to understand, like, before the internet came about, I don't think Americans ever even thought about other countries. Like, we don't think about how we're different or how it works anywhere else. We're very, like, America-centric. And I try not to be, because I do interact with people from, like, other places, like through here and also through the university. I try not to be the stereotypical American. And I'm not saying that I would not come off as a bumbling hillbilly if I went over there, but I'm better than some. Oh yeah, Fahrenheit makes no sense to me either. I never claimed that Fahrenheit makes any sense. I use Fahrenheit. I know exactly what it means when you say degrees Fahrenheit, because that's what I grew up knowing. But I do agree with you that it doesn't make any sense as far as, like, where the temperatures are set. Because, like, I think the boiling point of water is like 212 degrees. Um, like, why? Why is the freezing point 32? I don't know. But then with Celsius, I never understood Celsius at all. And then I saw a comment somewhere, I think it was last year, and it's really helped me. So they said, so like the point at which they meet is zero, essentially. 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit, and that's the freezing point of water. So what really helped me from there is knowing that 0 Celsius is the same as 32 Fahrenheit, and the yeah, so 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit, and um, that is the freezing point of water. Well, then the way that I learned it is just a rough estimate. It's 0 is freezing, 10 is cold, 20 is pretty nice, and 30 is hot. So that at least gives me like an idea. Because if somebody were to say to me like 25 degrees Celsius, that sounds really cold to me because I automatically think 25 Fahrenheit, which is below freezing. So, well, okay, yeah, I just saw I saw your comment. I'm catching up to you, but yeah. So now that's the part of Celsius that still makes no sense to me because when you get into the negatives in Celsius, there's no comparison. Like the 0, 10, 20, 30 thing. When it gets down there, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. I do struggle with that. Um, but I will say, I have no idea how big an inch or a foot is. Because, and this always annoyed my mom so much. Um, it always annoyed my mom so much because basically, when I was in school, so we're talking the 90s, basically, um, early, mid, and late 90s. Our schools, at least my school, did not teach us um, like how do we call that? English. What is that even called? The system of measurement we use, imperial system. They did not teach us that. Like we kind of knew it from growing up, and we knew it from our parents, but schools were not allowed to teach us the American system. We only learned metric. And it's weird because they didn't use metric for everything, but for units of measurement, they did. They would use like Fahrenheit temperature, and they would use like miles per gallon, miles per hour, things like that. But if it was units of length, like I had to learn all of them, like decameter, decimeter, like all of the different ones. Um, but like I measure everything in millimeters and centimeters, and meter I'm a little more sketchy on, but basically I'm way more good with that than I am trying to estimate how many inches something is. Um, so I don't know. It basically what it comes down to is they didn't teach us the system that we actually use in the U.S. because they thought by the time that we got into college that the imperial system would be phased out and we would be metric because the US actually was supposed to go metric back in the 70s, and like they passed laws to go metric and then just never really implemented it. So I think that's what it was is our teachers just thought they don't need to know the imperial system. All right, I'm getting behind on comments here, so let me see here. Okay. Jennifer said, in my calculation, I meant that the difference between old rent and new mortgage. Oh, okay. So you do have a mortgage on the new place. So difference between old rent and new mortgage is 5,000, and it's kroner. So it's kroner but it translates as crowns. Okay. And then you say everybody pretty much drives here as well. If you don't live in Stockholm or, I'm going to butcher that, Gothenburg. I paid 15% and rest mortgage. It cost 90,000 US total. Apartments come with kitchens, pretty much always. Okay. All right, cool. So by US standards, that sounds expensive, but I mean, I have no idea what the housing market is like near you. And I'm just basing that on it being an apartment rather than a house. By house prices, that's not expensive. And then you say you're hogging the chat again. Don't worry about it. If other people have stuff to say, they'll say it. Oh, and then Jennifer said, I would love to be American. You have pretty much everything, so I understand why some Americans don't see the point in traveling. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say before that they wanted to be American. But I mean, that's cool. You should at least come visit. There are pluses and minuses. I'll say that. We do have pretty much everything. That's true. Well, except for healthcare, but yeah, and infrastructure. But we do have a lot that other countries don't, and we have it all like in one country rather than traveling around. That said, though, I mean, you said you understand why some Americans don't see the point in traveling. There definitely are Americans that don't travel or don't want to, that aren't interested. And if they did, there's a ton of stuff that they could see in America. Yeah. I mean, because we've got all different types of like climates and all that stuff. That said, though, I mean, I want to travel outside the U.S. I want to go different places, not just Europe, but different places. Um, I haven't been able to. You know, that's part of growing up poor. Um, is that I've never been on a vacation, and I've never, well, and then as an adult, obviously, I've never had the money to. I've seen Canada from Detroit. It's just across the river, but I didn't have a passport, so I didn't go. And then hmm, well, I don't know. So, I mean, I just personally, I would love to travel. I do not do that well with cold temperatures, but if it's someplace cold, maybe I can go in the summer. Other than that, um, I'd like to explore most places. Oh, I'm just gonna. This is kind of a spoiler, but I was gonna throw this in there anyway. In 2025, I do want to get my passport. Um, I should have done that a long time ago. So, I'm I'm gonna make that one of my goals for 2025. Um, Jennifer says, so below 32 Fahrenheit, it would be minus in Celsius. Yeah, because 32 Fahrenheit is 0 Celsius. So below that temperature would be negative, yeah. Yeah, it can be negative in Fahrenheit. And Greg said that. Yeah, so I negative temp. Okay, we don't use negative temperatures in Fahrenheit all that often, just because generally when we're talking about temperature, we're talking about the weather, and it is not super often that it gets below zero, um, because 0 Fahrenheit is already negative in Celsius, so it's really cold, um, basically. Now it does. I mean, I've seen temperatures as low as I think negative 25 Fahrenheit, which I don't know if that'd be Celsius, but a lot more than that. And but again, it's rare. Greg says negative 20 Fahrenheit is equivalent to negative. Oh, I didn't even know there was a point where it. Okay, negative 20 Fahrenheit is equivalent to negative 20 Celsius. I didn't know it lined up like that. Sandra says, sorry, I gotta. Oh, where'd that go? Sorry, I gotta excuse myself for now, everyone. Nice to catch your 2024 wrap up live stream in December, Mark. Wishing you better and more settled 2025 ahead, and stay safe, everyone. Cheers. All right, Sandra, I'm glad you could be here. I'm sorry, I think you're kind of long gone. I got way behind on the comments here. Um, but I'm glad you could be here. And yeah, I'm hoping the end of the year and the beginning of the new year gives me kind of like a reset where I can get more on top of some things. Greg says US customary is the American system of measurement. I've never heard it called that. We always either called it, I think, the English system or the imperial system. In grade 6, I had chapters on metric and US customary in my math textbook, and we covered both chapters. Jennifer says, so when negative degrees, they are all of a sudden the same? I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it either. Greg says, no, it just works out that negative 20 Fahrenheit is equivalent to 20 Celsius. To get Celsius, subtract 32 from Fahrenheit temperature, then multiply that result by 5/9. There is no way that I'm going to do that. I would just rather not know what the temperature is than go through all of that. Fresh Lights is asking Jennifer about our apartment size. Jennifer says apartments are pretty much same as houses here. I think you're talking about cost-wise. But houses have a very much higher upkeep cost. Yeah, I'd imagine, like with the yard and stuff. Apartments have a fixed cost for upkeep, included in the price. Oh, okay, that's cool. So that would be kind of like similar to what we call an HOA, I think. Maybe, in the US, which is a homeowners association. But they're not just for houses. They have them in like apartment complexes too, if it's one of the ones where you can buy it. But that's cool that like your cost includes all of that. Jennifer says her apartment is only 40 square meters. My brain's trying to process that. 40 square meters. Okay, so 120 that's kind of small. Greg says housing is expensive now. That might change after Trump takes office on January 20th, 2025. Why does January 20th sound so familiar? I don't know. For some reason, that January 20th itself sounds like something. Jennifer, 430 square feet. I had to ask ChatGPT about how to calculate that one. Okay, 430 is actually a great size, especially if you can put your bed in like a loft or something. That would be great. But I will tell you, so um, 430 is great because it's enough living space, but it's small enough that it motivates you to like live simply, sort of minimalist, kind of have few objects, and maximize the space that you do have with like storage solutions. So that's actually really cool. Um, I I would really like to see your setup. Um, Obviously, you don't have a way to post it here, but I'd like to see how you're using that space and what it looks like. Um, oh, and Chat GPT. So I've never used Chat GPT. I have used all these different AIs that are like basically the same, but you guys know I'm cheap. I don't pay for it because you have to pay for Chat GPT. So um, I've used the My AI on Snapchat that's free. Um, the Meta AI thing that's in Messenger, and I've been using Google Gemini, but I've also caught it lying to me a few times too. So I don't know about that one. Let's see. Yeah, Fresh Lights is talking to Jennifer. That's enough. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Fresh Lights. I mean, it's enough space for a partner, but you gotta really like the other person. SB says no, negative 40C equals negative 40F. I am so confused. I think everybody else in the chat is too. Greg says January 20th, Inauguration Day. Yeah, that's not why it sounds familiar though. It's not about it being Inauguration Day. I don't know if something happened in my life on a January 20th or what. It just sounds super familiar. Hey, I got to the bottom of the chat finally, but I want to ask you guys a question. I'm going to get a refill and we'll do the drink of the day. But I wanted to ask you guys about this. So YouTube has started um, a new feature, and I didn't know it until I started this live stream, but it's just called Goal, and I wanted to ask you guys about it. So I don't know if it'll let me set one up right now. Yeah, it will. Okay. So it says make Super Chat more fun with a goal. Set a goal to engage with your audience in a new way. Once you reach your goal, celebrate with your community. So the first thing is there's a drop down menu where it says pick a goal. And you can pick anywhere from 10, from 1 Super Chat to 50 Super Chats. So the goal would be to get a certain number of Super Chats. And then it says choose the Super Chat colors that count. So basically, you get to set the goal as a certain number of Super Chats, and then you get to set the dollar amount of the Super Chat that counts toward that number. And that can be anywhere from $2 to $100 each. And then you can set a timer. I think, do you have to set a timer? It does seem like you have to set a timer, anywhere between 15 minutes and 3 hours. And then it says share how you'll celebrate. One of the suggestions is I'll host a Q&A sessions, but that's what my live streams are, so that wouldn't work for us. But there's a link here that says get inspired with examples. And here's what it says. The examples are, I'll stream again on Friday, I'll play a rhythm game without any sound. I don't know what that is. Hosting a community gaming night, get 1 extra hour of live streaming when we reach the goal, or I'll do a stream where we explore more indie games. So obviously a lot of those don't apply to me, but I don't know. I see where this would probably bring in more super chat money, but I'm a little perplexed as to what exactly I would offer. Um, I don't know. Do you guys have any ideas what you would want to see or what you would be willing to donate toward if I were to set that up? I'm not going to do it this stream, but I'm just thinking for next month if you want to try it out. All right, Jennifer says there's a free version of ChatGPT, at least over here. I'll have to look into it because I know last I looked into it, you had to pay in the US. Maybe there is a free one now. Um, I'll look into that. I'll have to learn how to do the prompts too, because I know with the other AI models you can just use plain spoken word, but I think there are certain prompts for ChatGPT. So I will look into that. All right, let me get a refill, and then I will be back and tell you guys what I'm drinking. Okay, well, I got those. I'm really just drinking more for caffeine than anything because I didn't get a whole lot of sleep. So just Diet Pepsi. Nothing special, but need the caffeine. Jennifer says, sounds like YouTube wants you to encourage us to give you money so they get more money, which is fine. Business is business, and it could be fun and inspire you as well as to get more video ideas. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's why they're doing it. I mean, you know, it might be beneficial to both, I guess, because if they do that so that they can take their share of it, then, you know, I guess I would end up with more AdSense money. But yeah, I'm not sure. Um, hey, Jennifer, I wanted to ask you. It's been, I think, 3 years ago that you told me that you were coming to the U.S. Um, to visit some places. Are you still planning on doing that? I'm gonna turn the heat on real quick. It gets too hot in here, but at the same time, if I don't turn the actual heat on and just turn the whole system off, it kicks on occasionally and blows out really cold air. Max, did you recover any money from lawsuit? No. Um, so I would have had to continue through the process of the lawsuit and I dropped it. So that's when I unbury myself enough and can actually get. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Um, so Max, I dropped the lawsuit, and that means since I didn't go through the process, I didn't win anything. I also didn't get the money back that she owed me. Um, I mean, that wasn't really part of the lawsuit, but I just kind of thought that she should pay me the money back. She said she would. But I ended up telling her just to keep it because I didn't want that to be the thing upon which hinged her decision about whether to agree to end the lawsuit or not, basically. I guess that's not going to make much sense out of context, but I'll eventually get there. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sorry, I was in the middle of answering Max's comment. I appreciate the super chat. I um, I really, really, really am trying to get back on track with YouTube. Among the million other things I'm trying to get back on track on in my life. So I intend to make more content. I intend to kind of explain my absence, kind of show what I've been doing, keep up better in the future of showing what I'm doing, and also make a lot of progress, right? Because I don't want to sit here for. I've been on YouTube now for 10 years. I don't want to spend another 10 years and, not really have accomplished anything. So I want to build and grow the channel, and I want to be able to make an income. One thing that I really, really, really want to do is between my furniture assembly business and the money that I make from YouTube, I want to be able to just support myself remotely so I can live wherever. And that could be anywhere. I mean, whether it's anywhere in the US or anywhere else. In order to have that freedom of movement, I need to be able to produce an income. Jennifer says, haha, US is top of my bucket list. Plan. Oh, okay. Plan is February 2026. Okay, cool. Any place in particular you looking for? It is going to be very cold, just warning you, in February. Justin says, have fun in the States. Yeah, so Jennifer, one thing I'll tell you is when I worked at Ohio University about 10 years ago, when I was managing that apartment complex there, we had a ton of international students. And most of them from like China mostly, but the thing that I saw with them is they would go and they would visit like all the touristy places. And those are what I realized, and what I kind of told them was most Americans have never done those things. Like going to like New York and LA and going to all the landmarks and stuff. Most most places, or well, most Americans haven't done most of those things. So you kind of have a choice of what experience you want. Do you want the tourist experience, or do you want like the actual average American experience? And I guess you could do a mixture of both too. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Max says, with law school, with lawsuit, any interest in attending law school? I won't say there wasn't any interest there. I mean, I tossed around the idea, but honestly, no, I'm not going to do it. The reason being that not the first lawyer I had, but the second, he was trying to teach me to think like a lawyer, and he did a really good job, I think. And the thing about it was, he really encouraged me to go to law school. He was like, you've got it. Like, you're doing this on your own now. You've got a legal mind. You're able to understand these concepts, and the arguments that you put forward are really good. And I told him, I was like, I appreciate that, and especially coming from like an actual lawyer. But I was just like, I don't ever want to do this ever again. Like, this has been such an awful experience and so stressful, and upsetting. I don't I don't ever want to go through what I went through. It might be different if someday down the road I have to sue somebody, but I actually have money and can have a lawyer do it, because then they take the brunt of it. But I, um, I don't think, I just, I don't want to deal with the judges. I don't want to deal with the other lawyers. Um, it just seems like I would never want to go through that ever again. And I might be good at it, but I also don't think that I could ever be passionate and put in the work to overcome the hump of how upsetting all that is if I was doing it for someone else and not my own case. Because, I mean, obviously you're passionate about your own case. So, no, I basically told him, I was like, I don't care how good I am at this. I don't want to ever go through anything like this again. Jennifer says, any suggestions on a good road trip? 4 weeks total. Well, that's a huge trip. Wow. Um, I mean, realistically, you could see like the entire US. I mean, not the entirety, but I mean, you could drive like basically a circle around the border in that time, stopping in random states at random places. I mean, I'd really have to think on this. I'll tell you what. I know you and I follow each other on Instagram. Let me give me a couple days. I'll come up with a list of some places I think you should check out. I'll mention a few here, but this is going to take some extra thought. Um, and I'll just come up with a list and I'll send you a message over there. Um, but I would say, okay, so there's like the main tourist things, right? New York City. I mean, I know you've been to a city, but nothing compares to New York. Just that dense urban environment. Um, LA's probably a second to that, but it's very different from LA, or I mean from New York. Um, and then yeah, definitely see some of our natural stuff. I see people commenting about it. Um, I mean, if you look back at one of my videos I posted earlier this year, I went to New River Gorge National Park, which is the newest national park. Um, we do have a lot of like outdoor, like really cool, just natural landscapes. One place, okay, this doesn't have to be a place you go, but this is the type of place you can go. My favorite place that I've been to, that I've traveled anywhere, is still Craters of the Moon National Monument, and it's in Arco, Idaho, middle of nowhere. Um, but it's a desert, but it's in an old volcanic field, and they usually film movies there about Mars because the surface of it looks like Mars. Um, the hiking there was so cool, and you can climb inside lava tubes, and I don't know how to describe it. They have actual volcanoes that you can like get up to the top and like look down inside. Um, yeah, so I would definitely check out the natural stuff. Um, there's so much, so it's kind of going to be based on what you're interested in as well. But I mean, I would check out a mixture of different things. Um, Maybe stop in Amish country, which could be like Pennsylvania or Ohio. Maybe go to Man, I don't know. I mean, Yellowstone, I love that. That's in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. Um, I would say if you're going out to the West Coast, maybe try surfing. Um, yeah, and you got to try the food everywhere. That's a huge thing. Everywhere has its own regional foods. Um, I would say there's a lot of outdoor stuff to do, um, and there's a lot of stuff to do that's probably just interesting for you because it's like going to be like a new cultural thing. Um, so I'll have to think on that too and see what I can find. Okay, well, I'm way behind on comments here, so let me get down and I'll get back to you on that. Um, oh yeah. Well, I guess you're right. I didn't really. Well, I guess I didn't notice this, but yeah. Jennifer says I'm a Viking. I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm sure you will be. I don't know how you deal with the cold. I mean, I live in southern Indiana, and I tell people I basically live in Canada because I'm so far north in the U.S. It's way too cold here, but you're way further north than me too. I mean, like also a lot east, but north. Um, I always wonder that about Europe. I mean, here in the U.S., we think of Canada and we think of like northeastern United States as like just abysmally cold, and then you look at how far north of that Europe is, and I'm like, how do you do that? You ever see? Okay, Jennifer, have you ever seen Cool Runnings? Um, it's an old Disney movie from the '90s, and there's a scene in there that kind of kind of is like how I am anytime I go outside, most places. And they get to the airport in Calgary, and he he puts on every piece of clothing he has, and then puts the bag on over his head. Um, Justin F says I would recommend the national parks. We have 63 of them across 31 states. Each is its own gym. Yeah, I'd agree. There's some of them I will tell you probably don't waste your time. Don't go to Cuyahoga Valley. I mean, maybe somebody will disagree with me. I think it's pretty lame. Um, but there are some that are just so cool, um, especially the ones out west. Jennifer, okay. Jennifer said, I want the American experience, please. Usually not a fan of the tourist routes. Okay. Well, I'm still brainstorming for you, but when I sit down and figure this out, I'll still put some of the tourist stuff in there because I do think that's part of it. And even as an American, I still someday want to do some of the touristy stuff. But I'll definitely put stuff in there that most people wouldn't think to see. Um, let's see. Jennifer says national parks is written down on the list. I have heard that they can be dangerous though. Is that just a myth? They well, they are very dangerous. Like you have to be really serious about it. Like I was kind of being stupid when I camped there this summer and just was walking around in the dark by myself. I knew I shouldn't have done that. But the thing about our national parks is they are very actually wild. Like they were set aside as we were expanding across and forming the country, and they've never really been developed. So they're really just as nature intended. Um, you know, you're going to encounter a lot of wild animals because they haven't been driven off like they have been in the areas developed outside the park. Um, there's going to be dangerous stuff like snakes, bears, things like that. The bigger national parks a lot of times don't have any kind of cell phone services. Um, Sometimes don't even have roads. Um, Extreme temperatures, um, there's not really help. If you get stuck out there, you're just going to die. Um, if you want to look into something called the Death Valley Germans, that's an example of that. That that's why you have to be prepared. I mean, you really have to respect nature, um, and just be very careful when you go. Just because we're so used to things being sort of tamed and safe, but you're literally just going out in the wilderness. Justin says, dangerous in which way? The people or the wildlife? Most of the dangerous animals hibernate in the winter months. Yeah, that's a good point. She's going in February. Um, okay, so yeah, bears will be hibernating unless you, for some reason, wake them up. But um, that's probably going to be your biggest one that you're going to watch out for. Um, but yeah, that's a good point. Now, the downside of that, though, is a lot of the places that I'm suggesting for you are actually in the north. And I know the weather is not an issue for you, but sometimes the snow is. Like, for example, if you get in a national park, you might get snowed in because they don't plow the roads. Fresh Lights asked me, "Do you have a bed and mattress now?" Yeah, it's not like a nice one or anything. It's just the dorm bed that the guys have. It's not set up entirely. That's actually part of what I'm doing back here. I'm cleaning these walls. I don't even want to go into the rabbit hole of what's going on with these, but they have hair all over them. They're not from me. They were hairy when I moved in here. So I'm cleaning them. I'm fixing the blind because it's got some issues. Anyway, I'm fixing up this whole area, and once I do, the beds literally are like right here. I'm just gonna slide the bed into place here, and that's one of the projects before school starts. But I am physically sleeping on half the bed right now. So it is like a prison mattress. It's not like great, but probably better than sleeping on the floor. So it's a little bit better. It's a step up. Um, right, nature is beautiful. Jennifer says disappearances and stuff. I've been listening to too many murder mysteries. I would love a list if you find the time. Google always suggests the most tourist packed places. Yeah, I'll have to think, and it'll probably take me, I don't know, like a day or two or three, something like that. And like I said, I'll just send it over to you on Instagram. Um, I'll come up with some places and maybe some foods for you to try too. I don't know what you're into, but I can let you know like what are some of the unique foods in different areas. Oh yeah, and the disappearances and stuff. There's a guy named Rusty, I think, and he has this series on YouTube of like national park disappearances. And there are a lot of people that disappear. Um, and whether that is due to crime or to just animal encounters or what happens, I don't know. Um, I do think a good part of it is probably just that, you know, you're going out into the wilderness and there's so many things that could happen, and you just disappear and nobody ever finds you. Because, Jennifer, just to give you an idea, just Yellowstone Park, and I'm I'm just making this up, okay? But you'll have to fact check me with the actual numbers. I can't look them up right now, but look at the square mileage of like your country, and then look at the square mileage of just that park. I would say that park is probably half the size of Sweden. Like, and again, don't like roast me in the comments if that's not right. Like, I'm estimating here, but it's so easy to disappear when you go into these parks because America is so massive, and like Yellowstone is in three separate states, um, and I'm not even sure if that's the biggest park. I don't think it is because I think there's one in Alaska that's huge. Um, so some of the disappearances are just from the sheer size of the area that they disappear, and with it being undeveloped, it's just really hard to get in there and to find anybody. Oh, but as far as like the murder mystery stuff, I guess I can give you a heads up about those too. Um, if you, I listen to a couple of true crime podcasts. Usually, well, I guess I don't anymore. Is usually when I was doing TaskRabbit, I would listen to them. Um, but I'm just thinking, if there's any, yeah, I'm thinking if you, depending on where you travel, I might know some of the like local things, you know, missing person or a murder mystery for like that location too. If you wanted to check out the like the actual area where it happened. Um, yeah, Justin said still be careful when you're traveling alone. Jennifer says I'll try to get a friend to go with me. I would not hike alone in a country I'm not familiar with. Yeah, hey, um, just to be straight up with you, um, you're probably completely fine hiking most places, but don't hike in the national parks by yourself. Even state parks, for the most part, are probably fine. I do that all the time, but don't go to a national park by your well, don't hike in a national park by yourself. If you're like at the exhibits by like the parking lot, you're fine. But because of the animals, I'm not even talking about people, but like I mean, it doesn't really have anything to do with the not being familiar with the country. It's just if you're hiking and there's like a bear or like a mountain lion or something, like that's just not something you want to encounter. But um, you'll probably end up disappearing or having to fight it. So just, yeah, don't do that to yourself. Um, yeah, okay. So do you have Disney Plus? Because it's on there. Um, you don't have to watch it. I just think it's a cool movie. It was one I grew up with, and I think they showed it on reruns all the time on the Disney Channel. But for like people my age in America, I don't know. It's kind of a nostalgic childhood thing. But it's about the Jamaican bobsled team. Justin says, I've been to Colombia and Germany on my own, but it's understandable that traveling alone isn't for everyone. Now, Colombia, I will give you that one's a little bit risky to go on your own. There's some stuff going on there. Um, Germany, though, Yeah, I think you'd be totally fine. It's not like a bear is gonna jump out of the woods and get you there. Um, Jennifer says I could also go in July or August if it's better. So for me personally, I I would rather travel in the summer, but it might not be for you. It's going to be up to you to determine that because you're more familiar with what kind of weather that you can tolerate. So I know you said you don't have a problem with cold weather, but if you go in July or August, um, you'll have to consider that there's going to be some like really extremely hot temperatures. Um, it would not be unheard of for it to be over 100 Fahrenheit, especially if you're going in the desert, maybe 110. I don't know if that's like 40 or 50 C, something like that. Um, Now, it's that's like the highest it's going to get. It's not necessarily going to be that. But if you're not used to the heat, then that might be something that you'd struggle with. The other thing to keep in mind is in July and August, those are peak tourist seasons. So places are going to be more crowded. And I don't know how you feel about kids, but they're also on summer break from school. So a lot of the places, especially the more touristy places, they might be there. Um, but yeah, I would say it depends on how you tolerate weather and where exactly you plan on going when you're here. Because if you go in the summer and you're in like Idaho, like I flew into Idaho in June of 2020 and I still had to wear a coat. It did eventually warm up, but um, it's like fairly temperate. But then I flew from there to Atlanta wearing my coat in the plane, and then I felt that hot Atlanta heat as soon as I got off the plane. Um, Jennifer says, exactly. I wouldn't hike alone in the north of Sweden either because of bears and wolves. And and also if I fall and get hurt, I would not want to be alone. Right. Yeah, and it's the same thing here. Um, Jennifer says, I was in Australia for 6 months during the summer. It was very hot but fine. Not very humid though. That's what I'm worried about the US, heat and humidity. That's one of those things where it depends on where you are. Um, it is so there are places in the US that have that dry heat, like Australia. Um, and it sounds like you'd be totally fine there. One thing that you are going to experience a lot of in America is humidity. And that's even going to be in places where it's not that hot. Um, so even if it's like 60 or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it might still be humid, just meaning that there's like a lot of moisture in the air. And it makes it feel hotter. Um, but there are also places in America, well, actually, big chunks of America, that are going to be hot and extremely humid. Um, so, like, I hope it doesn't bother you too much. It might be uncomfortable. Just being fairly honest with you. If you do come in the summer rather than February, you might have to experience that. The best thing that I can tell you for that is just as far as the heat, you're going to have to figure out how to deal with it, and drink a lot of water, wear sunscreen, especially with you being from up north, you're going to need that. Um, I'm not very good with that. I'll show you. I have a permanent farmer's tan. This is actually from not wearing sunscreen, but this will happen to you. Um, so just make sure you do that because you will burn. Um, and the other thing I would say is if you have like Under Armour or like Nike Dry Fit type, well, I mean, you work out a lot, so you probably do. Bring your like athletic and athleisure gear. Um, it might not be the fanciest thing to wear out to go around, but you're probably going to be a lot more comfortable in that. It wicks sweat away from your body so that it can dry quicker, and it keeps you cooler. Um, that helps a ton with humidity. So that's probably my biggest tip for that. Oh, and let's see. So wait, Justin says Australia has flying spiders. Jennifer says they use their web to fly sometimes, but I don't see any with wings. Yeah, I'd be okay visiting Australia. I think I'd probably be fine, just trying to avoid all the killy things. But I don't think I'd want to live there just because of that. Just because of all of that, of all of the things that are just vile, all of the weird critters. Um, that's something that like I know I just went on this whole thing about like there's all these wild animals in the national parks, but outside the really rural areas like the parks, you don't really have to deal with any dangerous animals in America. If you're in the far, far northeast, stay away from the moose. They're pretty aggressive and they're huge. Um, if you see a bear, probably stay away from it, but you won't see them very often outside parks. Well, unless you go to a certain couple of areas in the country. Um, Snakes are not a big issue in America until you go out west and the Southwest, especially. Um, Rattlesnakes mostly are the problem. Um, Wolves are so rare you wouldn't even really have to worry about those. And coyotes, they won't. They generally won't bother humans. Um, Mountain lion might, um, but those are pretty rare too. Same with bobcats. Um, but generally, we don't really have a whole lot of dangerous animals. Justin says we have critters here too, but Australia takes that to a whole new level. Yeah, that's something that I'm okay with. Um, I mean, we don't really have anything like that to worry about, like poisonous things, aggressive big animals. I can't think of too many. I don't know. But did you actually have anything already on your list that you wanted to see, or maybe even just regions that you wanted to visit? Jennifer said, "This is the most helpful channel and chat. I feel like I'm good to go. Just gonna save some money first. How does one travel the most cheaply in America? Do you have buses and trains to access places?" Yeah, we do. Um, it's not going to be what you're used to. Americans aren't really fans of mass transit, and the country's also like way too big. So even if we were like, it would just be so expensive to to actually have mass transit go to all those places. Um, you could feasibly get just about anywhere by bus. Um, you'd basically have to go to like a major city by bus, and then from there, you might be able to find a shuttle. You have to do a lot of research. I would not suggest hitchhiking. Um, you can usually maybe get rideshare, like Uber or Lyft, depending on where you're going, depending on how far out you're going. And trains, I wouldn't count on it too much. Um, if you're in the Northeast, you could probably do trains. There's just not much as far as passenger rail in the U.S. Although one of the things you could do, depending on how you organize all this, you could take a cross country train trip on Amtrak. They have sleeper cars. Justin said, agreed. So it would be easier for you to see what area in the country you want to cover, then search there for local transportation options like buses or trains. But Jennifer, honestly, um, I'm going to get back and answer the rest of your question, but based on what Justin's saying here, um, it may just be best for you if you just rent a car. I mean, since you're used to driving every day anyway, um, I mean, traffic laws are going to be very similar here. Um, and you can rent a car, just some of them have a limit on miles. You're going to want one that doesn't, obviously, since you're going to be driving like 5,000 miles around the country. But you're going to want to get one that has unlimited miles. They're usually fairly cheap. And that's what I would do. That way you can just go wherever you want and you don't have to rely on there being public transit there. I would say, I mean, when you get closer to that, let me know, and I can help with what rental car brands and stuff have that versus don't have that. But as far as traveling cheaply around America, I mean, the cheapest is probably going to be the bus because that's going to be Amtrak, or not Amtrak. Amtrak is the train, and sometimes it's cheap, but a lot of times it's not. Actually, Amtrak can be pretty expensive. Greyhound is the bus. But yeah, Greyhound. Um, I will. I mean, you probably already know this, but I'll just give you a heads up. In America, public transit, mass transit has a pretty negative image. Um, it's and the people who do use it, uh, I don't know how to put this nicely, but they're they're kind of rough. So if you take Greyhound, especially crossing the country, you're probably going to have some pretty interesting experiences that might not be that great. Um, and that's something that you're going to run into anytime you take public transit around here. TMUSA says, hey, just joined, so we'll listen back, but see you didn't get to your barber. Are you going to find one in Indiana? No, I'm not going to find one in Indiana. I've got an appointment on January 5th. Um, so it's like a little bit weird because he didn't respond to my text. So I booked him through his website and I got a confirmation, but I still haven't heard from him. So I'm just going to show up at the appointment time and hope he's there. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping to get it cut here in a few days. Jennifer said, had national parks listed, Yellowstone. Other than that, I just want to see how the people are and how you live and where you go to experience your own country. I'm very interested in other cultures. I'll have to put some thought into it. Um, because that's not as easy as just like, hey, here are like all the tourist places. Um, I would say to hit different cultures, probably I would say go to different regions of the US. I'll try to be a little more specific once I figure that out for you, but um, different areas are definitely very different. And then I guess basically look into what I send you, see which ones you want to go to, and then from there maybe you can come up with a schedule. Um, let's see. TMUSA says, Jennifer, best to experience the culture would be to rent a car and bring a friend too. Yeah, that's basically what we've been telling her because she wants to go outdoors and go to the national parks. So we told her not to go alone to do that. And then she was asking about transportation, but transportation's not that great here. And she drives, so it would be better to, probably easier to do that. Um, Jennifer says, scared to drive in such a big country, many people and cars. I'm used to driving in Sweden where the biggest interstate, is that word correct, has 3 lanes. I have seen you have like 6 lanes. Yeah, so the term interstate, in the 50s or 60s, they started building the interstate highway system. Um, it was based on the Autobahn, and it's called interstate because before that you had state roads, and then there were U.S. highways, which they still exist. They used to be the main roads, um, but for the most part, the main roads were the state roads. When the interstates were built, um, they just kind of crisscrossed the country, and they were meant to connect like the major cities together. So, um, since they were federal government funded and they went between the states rather than each individual state having its own highways, that's where the term interstate comes from. Um, but I mean, you're right. Like, I can tell you, for example, if you come to Columbus, um, which is where I lived for a long time, and I'm still sort of based out of there, um, most of the highways are 4 or 6 lanes. But when you get on 270, which is the beltway around the city, it goes up to 8, 10, 12 lanes, something like that. Um, So I can see why that would be confusing. I mean, I can give you my grandpa's advice. He was a truck driver for a long time and drove in Columbus. He said, just get in the middle lane and floor it. Um, okay. Um, so one thing I'd suggest for you, I do think you would be fine driving in the U.S. Um, just be prepared that certain sections of the country have really aggressive drivers. I don't know if that's a thing in Sweden or not, but people can be assholes. Um, but beyond that, um, get well. I don't. You might have an international plan on your phone, but if not, get a U.S. based SIM card, um, and then just use Google Maps as driving directions. Um, and there's an option on there where you can uh, make it turn off highways. So it'll take you on like 2 lane roads. It'll probably be what used to be the highway like 100 years ago that's been bypassed. Um, and you can definitely do that. It'll be less traffic and smaller roads. Um, Jennifer says, TMUSA, yeah, I figured I would just go with a friend and a loose plan and be spontaneous. Jennifer says, haha, okay, Justin looks bigger on TV. Oh, yeah, the highways, yeah. Well, I mean, Texas is notorious for their ridiculous highways. So, like, that part of the South and the Southwest does have some really big freeways, but you can always get around those. Like I said, take the more local roads. It might take longer. You it's not going to be a straight shot. You're going to have stop signs and stop lights and stuff, but you'll be more comfortable driving it. Yeah, highway. Um, on another topic, have you had any contact with the girl since the lawsuit, and how's your parents doing? Well, um, so as far as my parents, that I kind of have to give an update on. I'm not going to be able to do in the stream. Um, there's reasons for that, but they'll make sense once I give the update. Um, that'll probably come in January or February, maybe ish. I don't want to promise anything because you know how it is when I promise that I'm going to get a video up. It's not that I mind telling you. It's just I already filmed a bunch of stuff about it, and I need to finish that and get it up before I talk about it. But that's about my mom. The My dad, I have not heard from him since 2019. He is still alive, as far as I know. But the weird thing is that somebody actually reached out to me on Facebook asking if he was still alive. And it was the daughter of one of his friends. So they hadn't heard from him in a long time. And I kind of like looked and I was like, well, he paid his taxes this year and you know, he's been on Facebook, so he is alive. Um, he just doesn't really want anything to do with me. Um, and that's, you know, that's not like a good thing, really. But it's tough, you know, to be in a situation like that with your parent where you're the one wanting to have a good relationship and they're not. Um, but that seems to be the way that it is with that. Um, I will have after I take this trip home on the 5th and 6th. I hope I'm only gone those days. But on the 5th and 6th of January, when I go home, I will have more information about you guys, or for you guys, about my mom and what's going on with her. Um, and then as far as the girl, I've not had any contact with her. My standing on it is this: if she reaches out to me, I have no idea what to do with that. Uh, no idea, because it's like it's not in my nature to like be rude to somebody or not talk to them, but I have no idea what to say to her. And I mean, it's at a point like I obviously cannot let her back in my life with what she's done. Um, Whatever that would lead to would just be something toxic, and I don't think that she'll ever reach out to me again, but if she does, I have no idea how to handle that. And then I guess the second part of that, um, oh, yeah, the other half was that if I've reached out to her, I have not reached out to her, and I don't plan on it. Um, and yeah, there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, essentially, if she would have broken up with me, because I mean, maybe this wasn't clear, but we never actually broke up. She just disappeared one day. If she had actually broken up with me and told me that she didn't want me to talk to her, I just wouldn't have talked to her. It's that simple. All of this was so unnecessary. Um, and I guess now that I know, a hell of a way to find out that she doesn't want me to talk to her, a restraining order. But, um, you know, she's made it clear she doesn't want to talk to me. So, um, so, I mean, I don't, yeah, no, I mean, I just saw Fresh Lights' comment. I'm not really sure why you're asking me that like that. Because I think I just made it clear with what I said that, so I just want to address that. Fresh Lights just said, after all that happened, do you still need a reason to not reach out and not talk to her? I mean, that sounds very accusatory and unnecessary when I just said that I can't let her back in my life. And this is the issue that I keep having with everyone, from the courts down to just literally anyone. People keep twisting this to make it my fault, like I'm the one doing something wrong, that I'm the aggressor. And it's like, I literally just said that I'm not going to let her back in my life, and then somebody twists that and says, like, um, yeah. But but that comment is just an example of what I deal with. Oh, Fresh Light says not like that. I mean, it will bring all the stress again if you get into it. Yeah, it will. No, I thought you were accusing me, but maybe I'm just used to people accusing me. Um, so to jump back to answer Jennifer's question completely, um, have you had any contact with a girl since the lawsuit? So, like I said, she hasn't reached out to me. Um, I have not reached out to her, and what I'm saying is, I know that she doesn't want me to reach out to her, um, even if I wanted to. But I just wish she would have told me, you know? Like, if you want to end the relationship, break up with me. If you don't want me to talk to you, tell me that. Don't, the first time I find out you don't want to talk to me is, it should not be you filing a restraining order. Um, but yeah, I mean, I knew at that point she didn't want to hear from me. Um, and you're right. The other half of that, okay, so basically, now that I know that she doesn't want to talk to me, I haven't talked to her, and that's all it ever would have taken. Is just like, tell me that. Um, Even though there doesn't really seem to be a real reason why things changed. Um, but then the other side of that is like, do I do I want to reach out to her? Well, I guess I haven't even considered that. Um, I mean, not really, and really for the point that Fresh Lights made is like, just, it's not going to be anything but creating something toxic. And I don't want to bring that into my life. Um, I don't really know for what purpose I would even reach out to her. I told her to keep the money that she owed me. Um, I dropped the lawsuit, and I'll probably go into more detail about this when I make the video series about what all happened. But I did switch gears somewhat. There was a kind of like a meme not a meme, but that kind of thing where it's like a picture with text on it, that went around the time that I was doing the depositions, a little more than a year ago. And it's one of those things that you see it and you're like, I feel personally attacked. Um, but it was this thing about, imagine being bit by a snake, and instead of licking your wounds, you chase after the snake and try to find out why it bit you and try to convince it that you didn't deserve to be bit. And that's, like I said, I'm like, I feel personally attacked, but it did put into perspective what I'd been doing. Um, Now, if she would have just been reasonable and just had a conversation with me, it wouldn't have been drug out over 2 years. I could have found out right away. But, you know, I realized that's what I was doing. I was trying to convince the snake that I didn't deserve to be bit, rather than just seeing that she'd done a horrible thing and not wanting to be involved with her because of that. So, yeah, to answer your question, I don't have any intention of reaching out to her, um, in general, but also because she's dangerous. Um, and I don't think she has any intention of talking to me. And like I said, if she does, I have no idea what to do with that. I have literally no idea how to respond to that. Okay. Um, okay, so I think that answered that. And TMUSA says, that's what I'd say. I have nothing to say to you. Hold your head high and walk away. Too toxic. Yeah. I yeah, it's just kind of like the way things got. I told you guys this before. If she came to me and she was dying, I would care about her. I would take care of her. I would keep a distance from her. But I would be a good human being and treat her as somebody that is and probably always will be a good chunk of my life and that I care about. But realizing the rest of it and being like I can't get involved with that again. Um, Whatever it is that I still don't understand, regardless of that, I cannot get involved in that. Yeah, and then that was Fresh Light's comment, which I think Jennifer explained down below, but Fresh Lights had said, after all that happened, do you still need a reason to not reach out and not talk to her? I took that as like, you're still trying to talk to her despite all of that. And I am kind of naturally defensive now, and I didn't used to be. But when every person and agency around you for literal years are accusing you of the wildest shit, you get defensive. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's a bad trait that I have now. And I don't exactly know how to work through that, but I get automatically defensive now. Jennifer says, it's good neither of you has reached out. Stay away. Yeah. Um, I mean, as time passes, I know less about where she is or what she's doing, and I feel better about that. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, and Fresh Lights, you are right that it will bring all the stress again if I get into it. There's just something not right with her, and I don't know what it is exactly, but every time that she would come into my life, she brought so much love and positivity, but she also brought so much destruction. And it didn't seem to affect her at all. It it only tore me down. And I don't know what that is, but I have like been beat down so much by all this that I can't have my life ruined like that again. Justin, I didn't block her number. Um, I don't really ever do that. Well, like not with like ex-girlfriends. Um, I mean, I guess I would rather know if she reached out. Because I mean, I still have the choice of whether I acknowledge it. But I think I would rather be able to receive a message if one is sent. But I don't think there's any chance that she ever would reach out. So I guess if you're asking, did she possibly reach out and you don't know about it because you blocked her, it's not that. She just actually hasn't reached out. Although I don't think she has recently, or at least she hasn't commented recently. But there for a while, she was coming on the live streams. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, Jennifer, you're right. I read it wrong because I was being defensive. Jennifer says, yeah, weird way of communicate. She did a 180 from being on good terms to restraining order. Yeah, it was literally it it was literally her saying, "Come to the hospital, save me, I'm being held hostage." I get there, she wants to hold my hand. Me, her mom are this big happy family for 2 days. Everything is like amazing, and I'm bringing her ice cream, and um, she's texting me updates a couple days after that, and then it just stops, and I have no idea. That's all I know. Now, I will say, and I'll get into this when I make that series of videos, she has offered up some things that she claims happened, but they don't make sense and they contradict each other. Um, I tried to, through the lawsuit, figure out what the hell she was talking about, identify the people she was talking about, and they don't, they turn out not to be real people. Like they don't exist. So yeah, I couldn't bring them in to question them because they don't exist. So I have some theories about what happened, um, but I don't know for sure. Um, Rosie Cortez says, changing the subject. You said that you would like to work remote. What skill set will you use to work from home? Well, I don't really have one, to be honest. I mean, um, the main skill set that I could use to work from home would just be like data entry or customer service. And I think I would hate customer service. Um, but I have worked remotely before, and I guess you could consider it data entry. But what it was is I was taking in photos, editing the photos, and then uploading them to a portal. Um, so I was doing that at Candid, and that, I guess that's technically data entry. It's just like pictures rather than words. So I was doing that, um, but then my job got outsourced. So, and that's the thing with anything that's easy like that. It's also easy to outsource it. Um, I think realistically, I really don't have a skill that I could do remotely. It would be a pretty low level, entry level job. Um, that would just be either with a remote company or a company that's open to me working remotely. And there are some possibilities there. But really, I've got to get my shit together and grow the YouTube channel because that's the best shot I've got of being able to work remotely. And I've got to get the remote work working so that I can boost my income and so that I can live somewhere else. I don't know where I want to go yet, but you know, if I go anywhere outside the US, I have like I have to prove that I am not a drain on their economy. I have to prove that like I'm able to create my own money and work remotely. So that's something that I really need to get. Yeah. Now with my furniture assembly business right now, I am doing the furniture assembly, but I am transitioning to not doing as much of the work myself and instead having multiple contractors in different cities. And once that gets going a bit, I can do all the running of the business remotely. So that might be a way to do it as well. So, okay, give me a minute. I will be right back. I think I need to adjust my lighting. It's getting dark outside. That might be a little better. I actually turned it down, but I think it's not. Yeah, I don't look so white. All right. What did I miss? Jennifer says, I always got this I can't read, I'm sorry. I always ask this question, but since it's close to New Year, goals for 2025. So, I am going to make a 2025 goals video. It's going to be a little weird because it's not necessarily financial goals. It's almost like my actual goals and my financial goals are kind of all enmeshed. But I did mention one of them. What I'm thinking of is just one easy goal, because I already mentioned it. I want to get a passport, so that's a step. And so I think, yeah, get a passport. And a lot of it's going to be continuing doing what I've been doing this year. And that's getting my shit together, both getting caught up in life, whether that's getting my taxes filed, sorting through all my emails, um, sorting through my storage unit, um, getting back in shape, all of those kinds of things. I just need to stay on course because I started doing that stuff really once I got out here to Indiana, but I've had less than half a year, and that's obviously not enough time to accomplish all that. I've made progress, but now it's like I have 13,200 unread messages instead of 14,000. So, um, yeah. But I, um, I do feel better, and I want to explain this because I think a lot of people don't understand it. The reason that I want to get all this stuff done is because it just feels like a burden lifted off of me. Like there's so much stress, and it just feels like a burden lifted off of me every time I can get something accomplished and feel like my life is a little bit more together. Um, and then, of course, once my life is together, I can go accomplish the stuff I really want to. I can devote all the time to YouTube or building my company or whatever. But I've got to get out of this hole first, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I want to make a lot more specific goals, and I want to think about it more before I make that 2025 goals video. But a lot of it is going to be just rebuilding my life, and I can give some more specific examples of things then. Um, but it is also going to be determinant on what I'm doing for work because I don't know if my contract's going to be renewed. So that's going to be a big thing. So Justin F says do taxes. Most of that is remote work. Yeah, I'd have to do some training and I might have to get a certificate or something for that. I'm not opposed to it, but it's also very seasonal. So it's like they hire people in around like January to April and when people are filing their taxes. I actually really enjoy doing my taxes. People think that's super weird, but I like staying organized and keeping all of the accounting stuff together and then filing my own taxes. Even the business taxes, I still file my own taxes. Um, I'm not sure I'd be as passionate about doing it for other people, but I'd have to look into that and see. Um, let's see here. Oh, Justin, wait, did I miss something? Oh, yeah, I did. I missed a lot. Why is it so cold in here? I don't know what's going on. It says it's 72. I'm gonna grab a jacket. Hold up. Okay, don't laugh at me that the tag is still on this. I was trying to decide if I wanted to keep it. I'm going to, but I just haven't taken the tag off. I got it on Black Friday sale. Okay, so TMUSA says, what does everyone here do for work? Just curious. Well, I mean, I guess I should toss my hat in that ring. So I am a fraternity house director, and I basically am the on-site property manager for the fraternity here at IU. And then in addition to that, I have, we'll say it a side hustle at this point. building flat packed furniture that I'm trying to build into a more legitimate business with some other contractors. I have a YouTube channel, and then on top of that, I, on very rare occasion, do some gig work like DoorDash. Rosie Cortez says, "Can everyone in the chat hit thumbs up for the algorithm?" Thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that because I hate asking for subs and likes. You know, every YouTuber does that. I don't like to do it. But thank you. Jennifer says, "Don't hate me, but I'm HR full time. I run a small business on the side where I teach at university, and lastly, a group fitness instructor." That's cool. I didn't know that you were. I knew about your fitness business. I don't think I knew about HR, but I didn't know that you. I didn't know you were teaching. That's cool. Justin says, "I do taxes. I may do taxes for more than one company, but it's all the same line of work." Yeah. That is definitely something I can look into. If I look into it more, I might be able to determine whether it's something that I would be okay with, or if it's something like if I'd find something about it where I wouldn't like it. But as of what I know right now, there's nothing about it that I necessarily wouldn't like. Jennifer says HR gets a bad rep, but I try my best to be fair to both employees and employer. Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, I guess HR does get a bad rep, but I mean, sometimes it's deserved, but I also know you're a good person and you're in HR, so maybe it's not all bad. TMUSA says she's an instructional designer. That's within HR too. I design and develop adult learning, classroom, virtual classes, and e-learning. That's cool. We had, when I was at Candid, we hired a trainer. That's what they called them. But that was essentially what they did. They developed the on-site training classes, which were really like a classroom sit down, like take notes and take tests kind of thing. And I mean, I hope this is what you're doing. Our guy was really lazy. He supposedly was developing this knowledge bank, and all he did was put a custom screen on Udemy. Like it had a personalized screen on the front page for our organization, but then it was just Udemy. And it was kind of cool in a way because like we got all the Udemy classes for free. I was taking like YouTube marketing classes that I was listening to while I was doing my work, but he definitely passed it off as if he had designed the website. All right, I gotta get a drink here. I'm getting vocal fry. Okay, Rosie says, "Do you work as an independent contractor, 1099, putting furniture together, or are you a W-2? Or do you have an LLC or doing business as? Is this temporary or you plan on building on that?" Okay, so a lot of questions. Kind of all. So because your first question was, do you work as an independent contractor, 1099, putting together furniture? Okay, I'm not W-2. So the way it works is I'm signed up with different platforms to get my leads. And the main platform where I get most of my leads is TaskRabbit. And I am a contractor through them. So if I hit the earning threshold, they send me a 1099. But I do a lot of advertising on my own, and for those, that's just direct pay. Now, I suppose if I worked for a business, there might be a scenario where they would issue me a 1099, but it's usually just people are paying me through Square. And because I do actually like do everything on the up and up, I do keep track of that and file that, even though it's not on a tax form. I do, even if it's a cash payment. So I'll keep track of all of that. I do not currently have an LLC. And because I don't have an LLC, I don't have a DBA. The reason being that business is really slow right now. So I'm not putting a lot of extra money into it. But I am essentially a sole proprietor. I'm filing just a Schedule C on my personal taxes. As an individual, you can issue 1099s to contractors, and that's essentially what I'm going to be doing if this guy I've got down here in this other city is going to get some work. Oh wow, thank you, Jennifer. You didn't have to do that again. I appreciate that though. Jennifer just gave another 50 Swedish kronen. Oh man, I'm never gonna get that crown. I appreciate that. Um, and and Rosie, yeah, it's not temporary. I've been doing it like for a couple of years. I started it in 2019 and then COVID happened. I jumped back into it in 2022. And for 2022 and 2023, I did it mostly full time, but it also is mostly, it's kind of seasonal. It dies off in the winter. So it's not been my full time work, but I'm trying to turn it into a company where maybe I build some furniture, but I'm going to have other people building as well. And not just in one city, but in different cities. And then eventually I'm going to be doing more of like the administrative and then like the top level business work rather than doing the assembly itself. Okay, so oh, Jennifer asked about the chair. So this chair, it's like an antique dining room chair that somebody spray painted. It came with the room. There was a lot of weird furniture in here when I moved in. It is not nearly as uncomfortable as it looks. So yeah, I'm fairly okay with it. It's honestly, even if it is actually comfortable if I lean back. So yeah, I'm okay with the chair. Long lives today, much appreciated. I needed to cheer up this afternoon or this evening. Well, I'm glad we could cheer you up. And I will send you a message probably, I don't know, a couple days maybe. Um, and I'll try to send you over some ideas of places that you should visit. And you can let me know what you think about those. Once you let me know where you want to go, then I can tell you what foods to try too. Because, like I said, every region has got its own food. And then with her super chat, she said, "Thank you for spending the evening with us." Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here. I guess since 3 p.m. works for you, and um, that is what we normally do, but since that works for you, we'll stick with 3 p.m. And just let me know if that changes. And then she says, "Well, it might not be evening for you." Um, it looks like it. With our daylight savings time, it's dark, but it might not be evening for you, but it's midnight here, so I'm saying goodnight. All right, well, it's almost 6 p.m. here. Well, good night, Jennifer, and I hope you don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. for work, but if you do, thanks for sticking it out to be here with me. I'll put some thought in tonight to some places you should check out, and I'll send that over to you. All right. Well, guys, so I don't see any answers yet about that goals. So maybe after this uploads and maybe some more people will comment on it, we'll see. I might just try it out next month and just, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like, one thing I could do is I could do like a, so this is a 3 hour live. Like we've been, yeah, so we're on for like 3 hours. One thing I could do is I could time limit the lives to like, I could be like, oh, it'll be a 2 hour live, and then the goal to set would be like, if in the first 2 hours we get this many super chats, then we can do a third hour. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, Justin. Yeah, she had said that before, that she gets up like super early for work. See, my work is the exact opposite. For my job, I have to be here every night from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Like I have to be in or like reasonably near the house. Like I could go to the store if I needed to, um, but like I have to be here, and I don't have to be awake. I just have to be in the facility, and then they can come wake me up if they need me. But basically, I'm just going to be here, and because they go to bed late, and that means I go to bed late. I'm waking up in like the afternoon, um, and I don't know. People, they kind of look down on that. They're like, "Oh, you're lazy. You didn't wake up until, uh, you know, 2 p.m." And I'm like, "Well, I was up working until 8 a.m." Like, you know. But yeah, no, I agree with you. The mornings are the bane of my existence. Man, I don't do mornings. I just don't. Um, I could not do like a 9 to 5 job anymore. Oh, Jennifer's still here. Tomorrow I'm off, but days I'm up at 5ish because work starts. Other days I'm up at 5ish because work starts early. Live closer to work now, so I can probably sleep in until 5:30. Well, that's good. Yeah, I forgot you said you moved, so that's good. Um, I'm glad you can get some sleep. Um, yeah, yeah. But anyway, um, I would say, um, I know you've got this good job. Maybe it's worth it for that. I don't know. Maybe you're a morning person. Um, couldn't be me, but um, I don't want to keep you up too late. So if you need to go, um, I understand. But oh, and guys, I should have more videos up soon. So before I forget to say it, um, I made that video about like what I did for work in 2023. I'm obviously going to make a video about what I do for work in 2024. And in that, I'll explain more about my business plans and stuff. And then in 2025, I'll have the 2024 financial goal review, the 2025 financial goal setting. I have a little project that I'm going to start filming in January, but it probably won't be out until April. And then there's one other thing I'm going to do. And I think I'm not back to the point where I can budget yet, but I think I'm going to do sort of a budget with me type video in January where I kind of talk about what my budget will be like, at least for the first half of the year. But yeah, if anybody has any ideas of what kind of work I can do for June and July, I'm going to be without a job for 2 months. And I got to get that covered. So, worst case scenario, I live in my car for 2 months and work somewhere. but ideally, I can get something to cover that. Because even if my contract renews here, I can't necessarily just stay here in this town if I don't have any income coming in for those 2 months. So I might have to actually go like sleep in my car in a different city where I can get work, is what I'm saying. But I'm hoping I can get one of those park or summer camp jobs or something like that. So, all right, guys. Well, there are still 17 here, but I don't see any other comments. I'm down at the bottom. One thing I did forget something. Okay, so goals. Since June, I've been setting goals for every live stream. Last live stream, it was only one simple thing because I knew I was gonna have a lot of work to do this month. It was literally just get a toothbrush. I'd been using the same nasty toothbrush for a while, and I got a toothbrush. So, success. And for next month, by the time of the next live stream, basically I need to set goals again, but well, we went through the holidays, but that and then traveling home and coming back, and I've got new guys moving in the spring. With all that happening, I know I'm not going to be able to get up to much. So all I'm going to set as far as goals for this next month is just to make that trip home. That's it. Just logistically and financially make that trip happen and get back. And then I guess to the best of my ability, when I get back, I just want to you know what, should I even set a second goal? I don't know, because that's kind of a big one. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna get myself here and back, and that'll put me halfway through January anyway. So we'll be pretty close to yeah, we'll be pretty close to the next live stream anyway. So that'll be it. Yeah, so unless anybody else has anything, I'm gonna go ahead and end it. We've been on for a little more than 3 hours. I think my voice is starting to go. It was fading out there a little bit, and that's not exactly normal. So I am going to, actually, I'm gonna go eat. I haven't eaten much today, so I'm gonna go do that. And we will do this again next month, and I most likely will have a couple more videos up for you before that. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm trying to get back on track. So thank you guys for hanging out, and yeah, go ahead. If you weren't here on the live, leave comments. I read them all, even if I can't get back to them all. And I'll see you guys then. Yeah, Justin, Happy New Year. Yeah, how did I forget? I like completely spaced out that it's even New Year's. All right, see you TM USA. Yeah, you guys having a good New Year's, and I'll see you guys next month.